Guess you didn't hear me.
Think we're all here. Can you hear me here?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Ready to rock and roll. Absolutely, man. I came on the show and I thought I was gonna have to do this. I'm about to do an intro, but I don't remember what you say at the beginning. So I'll sit there until you get here.
First of all, welcome everyone to another Wednesday night right here at the Sports Crib. Glad to have you back, Reg. Dave, how are you doing tonight?
Doing okay. Rainy day here on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Cloudy here, not rainy. How you doing down there, Reg?
Same rainy day here as well.
Oh man, okay. Well, hey, let's try to bring a little sunshine to the day then, since you guys are all out here in the rain. Well, first of all, do we have a Sue's Corner tonight, Dave?
We do indeed.
Okay, you see, Reg was just getting ready to hang up. See there?
Yep.
Well, it said that Don said he's backstage there, so I was trying to see who's. I don't think. Okay, there we go. Don's working.
Tell Don to get the new link. The old one is broken.
Gotcha. All right, I'll do the Sue's Corner in the meantime. So Sue says, amid all the NFL playoffs, there was another bit of ice hockey to watch last week. The Men's World Championships. And I think she meant the NHL playoffs. She was talking about the hockey playoffs. But last week they had the Men's World Championships. Coming into the tournament, the U.S. had not won a gold medal in 92 years.
92 years.
Thanks to Tag Thompson's overtime goal in a gold medal game against Switzerland, the Americans don't have to hear any more about the long drought. In 1933, when the Americans last won gold, the price of gasoline in the United States was 18 cents per gallon.
Wow.
John Van Bisbroek, the Assistant Executive Director of Hockey Operations for USA Hockey, commended the U.S. men's national team for getting the job done in Sweden. It's quite an accomplishment and probably one of the toughest tournaments to win, Van Bisbroek said. We had a tough quarterfinal, played an almost near-perfect game against Sweden, and capped it off with a thriller against Switzerland. I couldn't be prouder to be an American. Despite having the youngest team in the tournament, the U.S. won the 14th medal in program history and became the first American team to win 9 games in a single world championship. The team's lone loss of the tournament was a 3-0 setback against Switzerland in the preliminary round. But the Americans extracted revenge in a big way on Sunday. There was a sentimental moment as well. Last August, professional hockey players and brothers from South Jersey, Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau, were killed when they were run over by a Jeep while bicycling the weekend of their sister's wedding in New Jersey. Johnny was the current pro, a 10-year veteran and beloved hockey player. After the championship game, team captains brought Johnny Gaudreau's red, white, and blue number 13 jersey onto the ice for the celebration. They draped his jersey in front of the World Championship trophy while accepting the title in a photo that will echo throughout the ages. The biggest thing was having Johnny Gaudreau in our room, team captain Swayman said. This gold goes to him and the legacy he paved for all the USA hockey players. Every single game we knew he was with us, so this gold's for him. During last year's World Championship, Johnny Gaudreau broke the all-time American career points and assist records in the tournament with a 5-point game against Kazakhstan. So that's, very tragic news. The brothers being killed during the weekend of their sister's wedding. But, really nice for American hockey. And I didn't even see Canada mentioned. And they're talking about Switzerland and Sweden. I don't know where Canada was. So
I think Canada got knocked out. It might have been Switzerland that knocked out Canada. I'm not sure which one it was, but yeah,
Yeah,
that was the World Hockey League, not the pros. So it
right,
was
right. This is like the national, like when they select the national teams.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But 92 years,
Yeah,
long
right.
time,
It's
long
crazy.
time.
It's a drought.
Yeah. How you doing, Don?
Doing great. How y'all doing?
Oh, not
Very
bad.
good.
How's your weather? It's raining out there on the East
Hey,
Coast.
we got so we're like in stage 5 drought. The lakes are drying up, the rivers stopped flowing. It's crazy. The last 48 hours we got about 6 or 7 inches of rain. So it's not going to solve the drought, but it sure helps.
Well,
I
at
I
least
drove I drove by on the south side by the river. I had to cross it twice, and it's flowing. It's going over a spotted dam. I mean, it's nice. Um, So I'm hoping that we get some more of this rain because we're gonna we still need it.
yeah,
I
hard
don't
to
I
have a
don't I
river.
don't I don't know if y'all knew this, and I'm just gonna throw this out there. San Antonio is the largest city in the United States that gets its water solely from the ground aquifer. So we have the Edwards Aquifer, and it's like a huge lake that stretches about 10 counties. But you know, we don't use like desalinization from the coast. We don't use lakes and stuff like that. We could if we needed to, but right now our water comes from the ground. So we need more rain.
Interesting.
More rain.
Yeah, we've been singing that out here in California for a little while, but we get our most of our water comes from Colorado anyway.
Yeah. Well, snow melt. Yeah.
Yeah. So guys, we got some new things coming up here as far as college football is concerned. We got some. Uh, well, I guess the judges hasn't made her final ruling yet, but right now we have what we're going to be calling, or at least what's proposed as the CEO of college sports. It's a new enforcement organization that will supposedly be taking the place of the NCAA. The new College Sports Commission will have final say in doling out punishments and deciding when rules have been violated. Such a level of singular power has never been existed during the NCAA era. What do you think, Don?
Um, I don't know if we should get rid of the NCAA totally, but there has to be a lot of reform going on. I mean, they they dabble in stuff they don't be dabbling in, and right now the money maker is, just face it, and it came out in a report today. I read in my Longhorn newsletter. Football and basketball, men's football, men's basketball at UT um, supports all the other sports because they're the ones making money. And so when the NCAA starts saying, "Well, you can do this, you can't do that," it takes like, "Hey, guys, we're responsible for more sports than you realize." And so there has to be some governance, but I'm not sure if you'd have like a college sports czar. Is that what they're going to call it? The czar? Like everything else is a czar. Border czar, drug czar. Um, but if they do go ahead with that plan, I think they need to have a lot of oversight.
Well,
Um,
Don, you know it's all Texas's fault that the SEC says they're
I
leaving the NCAA in 28, 29 anyway.
yeah, when I got that text today from when y'all, I was like, yeah, they're gonna blame Texas for this one. But hey, it is what it is.
What do you think, Reg?
Who's like, so who is forming the commission? Is it formed by the NCAA? Are they not related to this in any form or fashion?
Well, the judge wants to get rid of the NCAA. Everybody says the NCAA is archaic, and I guess since it hasn't been formalized and the judge hasn't decided whether or not she's going to accept this, but yes, I guess it is going to be one nation under a groove.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, is it basically the NCAA replacing the NCAA? Like, I'm not sure exactly who is it, like a total different set of people? I guess I would need more information. I'm not sure I have enough information here to know exactly who this is being made of. How did the people get appointed? Did they get appointed to it? Did they get voted onto it? I guess I need more information, but it's interesting, I guess.
What do you think, Dave? Is it time for the NCAA to go?
No, I don't think it's time for them to go. I think it's a wake-up call. I think the issues that they had before is they kind of doled out penalties through a committee system. And so it lacked consistency. A lot of times it wouldn't be timely. And, this kind of may streamline the process. It might make more timely decisions on punishments and maybe make it more consistent. And I think that they're going to have like a guy in charge with the 4-member panel. But you run a lot of risk in putting all that power into one person. If that guy is that person is the final word. Now, I think that they're going to have some type of arbitration as like if a school or a player or a coach doesn't agree with a decision against them, where they'll be able to go through an arbitration process. So that might help, if they have something like that. But I think, like Reggie said, I think everybody needs to learn, more about this College Sports Commission. And exactly, what their role is with the NCAA, and then what is their oversight? Who's overseeing them?
I think what's going to happen, and this to be talked about, is who's in charge of sanctions. Like if a school gets sanctions for whatever, who's in charge of that? Who's in charge of the bracket for the Final Four? March Madness. I mean, the brackets for the playoffs, the football playoffs. I mean, is it going to be just that one guy, or are they going to have their panel? I don't know. It's crazy. They need to tweak that and get taken care of before it goes into effect.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about both of those things, Don, because the college football playoffs, they have approved a new seating model for next season. Now, straight seating allows Notre Dame to be included in the process as an independent, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago and even last week. Whether or not with all of these giant conferences, Big 18, Big 12, where is Notre Dame going to fit in? So, what's your thoughts on this new seating here, Dave?
Well, I mean, it would be great for Notre Dame. Because right now there's no way that they can get a bye under the current system, because the byes all go to the big conferences, the big conference champions. So I think that this gives more fairness to Notre Dame. It might encourage more bracket balance, because since they'll be doing the seeding based on the seeds, they had number 9 and number 12 play each other in a first game. I think it was Boise State and Arizona. And you can eliminate that. Instead of having two teams that are closely seeded playing each other in the first round, it'll balance the brackets out. And it's going to incentivize, like a team like Notre Dame. Well, now they're going to want to play a stronger schedule, because now they have an incentive to play a stronger schedule in order to earn a bye in the college football playoff. Now, on the downside, it kind of devalues the conference championships. Because the conference championships for the big ones, they're guaranteed a bye. So that I think that's one of the downsides to it, that it kind of hurts that. And but I think overall, I kind of like the idea. I think that the pros outweigh the cons. And then what this does is if the SEC has like 4 super strong teams, those 4 teams could still end up with a bye. In the reduced team, if they're that strong, if they're ranked that high. On the other hand, if they're not, well, then let's let some other conferences have a chance at some of those buys.
What do you think, Reg?
Dave kind of echoed something that I heard Joe Klatt say earlier, and that's in relation to this, and that's devaluing the conference championships. And if you take this model, which he wasn't for, he feels like they shouldn't, the conference championship shouldn't be devalued in any way. So he wasn't necessarily for it. I'm kind of with Dave here. I think the pros kind of outweigh the cons. It'll be interesting to shake it up. And with a lot of these systems, if you don't like it, it's not like you can't go back to the old. It's not like no take backs. You know what I mean? If you try it out and it ends up being a dumpster fire for some reason, maybe go back to the old system. But I don't see the issue with at least giving it a shot.
Don, advantage Texas?
Well, to be honest, I remember, 10, 15 years ago, there's a place for conference championships, but now I'm thinking, when you're playing like in an SEC, that wears on your body, and that's an extra game that you may. I mean, I would just take the two highest ranked conference teams and put them in the playoffs. I mean, you don't need to have a championship game. I mean, that's just me. But I'll go with it, but because I like watching football. But when you start expanding the playoffs, you're adding more games to the season, and it's just, it wears and tears on you. I mean, makes you wonder how many people who are putting this together actually play the stamp of college football.
Yeah, and I guess another thing is look at how the college football playoff has devalued all the other bowl games.
Yeah. Well, there's too many damn bowl games as there is. I mean,
yeah, for sure, absolutely.
I remember a few years ago they had something called the Poulon Weed Eater Bowl. I mean, what the hell? You remember
Cash
that?
grab, man.
Remember that
point?
Does anybody remember what 8 was it? 8 bowls or 10? I think it was 8, right?
Well, those are the major bowls. I think that there's like 15 or 20 of them. I mean, there is a bunch.
Yeah, it used to be the Rose Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, the Orange Bowl, the Sugar Bowl. That was the ones you wanted to aim for.
Yeah,
and then he had the Fiesta. It was kind of like a second tier, and
yeah, but all of those were once they saw the money making,
Correct. Cash grab, man.
So, Don, we have a college football. There's another model out here now. Now that's the 5+11 that draws interest from SEC coaches. Does this model make more sense, Don? Once again, advantage SEC.
So explain it to me. I haven't had a chance to look at it.
Well, it would be the 4 major conferences plus 1. That would be the 5, and then there would be what? How did they figure out that the other 11?
11 at-large bids. They're making it a 16-game championship. So you wouldn't have any buys. And
so it'd be mainly from the smaller conference, like Conference USA, Atlantic Coast.
It could.
It could, but when you're talking about you're talking about the regular SEC, ACC, Big Ten, and then you're talking like you say
they
5.
might hog up the at-large bids.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to. I'm one of these people. I have to experience it for a year or two to see how it all plays out. But I'm all taking this. I'm all for taking the conference champ for each conference, the conference runner up. That would be, I guess, 10, and then add your 6 at large. I like that idea better.
Oh, okay. What do you think there,
I
Rich?
think. Oh,
Oh, well,
sorry.
go ahead, Dave. Go ahead, Dave.
No, I was just going to say, I would use a combination of what we just talked about, the seating based on the pools or whatever, with this model, and so I would have a 16 game playoff, but base it on the playoffs, and because this kind of favors the big conferences, and if the big conferences are that good, well, then their best teams are going to be top. They're going to be at the top, and you don't have to worry about buys anymore because you're talking 16 teams. So you could still have the 5 champions plus the 11, but then base the seeding of the tournament based on the maybe taking like the top 3 or 4 pools and then coming up with the seeds based on that. And I think that way it still encourages teams to play a strong schedule. They're not going to play dogs because that could impact their seeding, because some of the pools take into account the strength of schedule. So I kind of like that. It's kind of a combination of seeding, based on the pools rather than the conference champions, and then having the conference champions be automatic bids, but it doesn't mean that they're a top bid. You could have a dog that won the championship, and then maybe they end up being like the 8th seed or something like that.
I mean, you just, when I was talking about taking the champion and the runner up, if using that formula last year, we'd have like Ohio State, Michigan, then you'd have Texas, Georgia, ACC. Who was it? Was Clemson, and who else? I can't remember. Got Alzheimer's. But then, like I said, you would take your Oregons. They won. They'd be in their conference, and then well, hell, they're not even. They're in the Big Ten now, aren't
Big
they?
Ten.
Yeah. So yeah, there's 3 right there. The Big Ten: Georgia. I'm sorry, Michigan, Ohio State, and Oregon. So that, I guess, when those would be at large. Oh, it's crazy. I mean, I'd hate to be on that committee.
Bill, can you tell us a little bit more about this 5 plus 11?
I guess it depends on what you mean by more. I mean, I think most of it was covered, but
You're in a can there, Bill. Something's wrong with your volume.
Hold on.
Kind of muffled.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like Dave's answer was better than any answer that I was going to give on this, because this is pretty confusing to what's what's going on here. I mean, is it 16 teams total?
Yes.
Is that
Yeah.
so? It's 16. Okay. I'm more of a 14 team kind of guy, but whatever.
Well, we got 12, we got 14, we got 16. When are we going to get to 20? Do I hear 20? Do I hear 25?
Yeah, man.
Well,
We're on our way to 32, man.
16 eliminates the buys, and that's what I'm interested in doing, is getting rid of the buys. And the top seed, they're rewarded because they're playing the 16.
You back with us, Bill?
Yep.
Okay, much better. So, do you like the 16 team format, the 12 team format, the 14 team? I mean,
Well, I mean, I was an 8-team guy at first because, before it was 4, and I was like, that's too few. It should be 8, and then they made the jump up. I'm fine with 16. I feel like you should, have your top ranked at larges and your conference championships, or conference champions, and then I guess sort of a wild card or whatever. I don't mind like a play-in kind of system or whatever if you want to look at teams that would have been snubbed in the past. I'm just glad we've gotten to the point where you don't have to justify a team that's not in the SEC getting a shot at the championship, or a team that's not in the Big Ten getting a shot at the championship. But the proposed, some of the things that were fixed by this were things that I didn't think were broken. But sure, whatever. I'm fine with it. I feel like there's going to be more tweaks to come. If you're asking just my opinion, I think that it's going to continue to change shape, coalesce based on who feels the most aggrieved, and and also I think at some point it'll keep going up in number, right? Because money. That's whenever you're confused about anything happening in college football, the answer is money.
Yeah, for sure.
So if it looks like this is going to make more money than the old model, then this model will win out until the next model that makes even more money than this comes out.
We're on our way to 32, guys. We're headed to 32.
Oh my God.
Well, Reggie, now here you go. Should the ACC support a 14-team playoff proposal? The ACC coaches, I mean, it seems like the ACC might be folded in as far as football. Not sure about what they're going to, basketball, ACC is ACC. I don't think that we're going to see a difference in that. But what do you think, Reg? You like that 14-team proposal?
I do like the 14-team proposal, but I do feel like I also need to pass this ball to somebody else on this panel who cares about the ACC more than I do, because I really don't care about the ACC. I care about the SEC, and I have my own. We have our own problems over here. You know what I mean? We're dealing with our own drama. We got to see to our own house over here. I'm no knock to the ACC people. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying we're dealing with our own stuff over here.
Amen, Rich.
What do you think, Bill? Go ahead, Don.
Bill.
I mean, go ahead, Dave.
Well, I was just going to say, I guess my only interest in the ACC right now is because Pitt's in there. But I think with the 14, the ACC supported the 14-team playoff. It's a dual-edged sword because on the one hand, it might give more opportunities for ACC teams to get in. But then it creates an expectation. And so where we're talking about the coaches that are like on potential hot seats, well, when you only have like a 4 or an 8 or even a 12-team CFP, college football playoff, well, then if a team that was on the cusp doesn't make it, okay, well, they didn't make it this year. But if you have a 16-team playoff or a 14-team playoff, and now your team is not making the cut, this may put more pressure on some of these coaches to produce. So, maybe it puts pressure on them to get more out of their teams, but it also might place more pressure on the schools to change out coaches, if they're unsuccessful in getting them into the college football playoffs. So I think it creates a bigger expectation of getting into the dance.
What do you think, Bill? Jeffrey is a little ill tonight, so he won't be joining us. Hopefully, he'll come back next week. What do you think about that, Bill?
Well, as we know, the ACC and Big 12 were leaning towards the automatic burst of 5 highest-ranked conference champions and then 11 at large, which I'm fine with. And I know that the Big 10 and SEC, not surprisingly, lined up on the 4-4-2-2-1 format, which would give 4 automatic qualifiers to the Big 10 and SEC, 2 to the ACC and Big 12, and 1 for the highest-ranked group of 6 champion and 3 at-large team. I mean, it's easy to see. It's like, when the Constitution was being hammered out, right? You had the higher population states saying, well, of course we should use population as the way to decide representation in Congress. Who needs a Senate? right? We just look at who has the number of people. We shouldn't let land area decide, or state borders decide how many representatives you have. We should just simply go by by the number of humans. That makes sense, right? And then of course, the states that had fewer humans, lower population states, were like, well, we definitely need to have a Senate, and we should have more than just 2 senators. Well, we have 5 or 6 senators, and if we have to have a House of Representatives, maybe that's where we should just have 1 representative, right? So both sides jockeyed around based on what benefited them the most. Shocking. People want what benefits them the most. Who would have thunk it? So maybe something is between the two, right? Where it's a 2-2-4-4-1 or a 2-2-3-3. Wait, hold on. 2-2-3-3-4. I forgot there'd be math, but I'm not fine with. I would lean more towards the 5+11. I get why the Big Ten and ACC, Big Ten and SEC would prefer the 4-4-2-2-1 because they want to lock in dominating the playoffs as opposed to leaving things to chance, I guess. But if they're as good as they say they are, somebody I think pointed out already, you'll have a bunch of the top at-large teams anyway. Like, what are you whining about? I wouldn't be heartbroken with either model. And if there's a way to sort of, split the baby down the middle, shout out to King Solomon, I guess I'd be fine with that as well. But my personal preference is 5+11. And frankly, the ACC is going to be pretty darn good next year. I mean, I don't know if people have been watching Syracuse football recently, but you might want to start watching Syracuse football. Fran Brown, obviously late of Georgia, is building a monster up there. They're going to be one of the top teams in the ACC this year and maybe the top team in a couple of years. They're going to be as good as, at least the second best tier of teams in the whatever conference you want to talk about, including the including the SEC and the Big Ten. They'll be as good as whoever the third or fourth best team in those conferences in just a couple of years. And Clemson is an interesting test case, right? Clemson will either right the ship or they're going to change direction. I mean, we all thought that Dabo was going to be coach for life, a la Bowden. Well, even Bowden didn't quite get to be coach for life, but close. But there's rumblings. I wish Jeffrey were here, but there's rumblings, not loud rumblings, but quiet, distant rumblings, amongst the Clemson fan bases and the fan base and the booster base about maybe it might be time to at least consider moving on from Dabo, just simply because Dabo is behind the curve, frankly, in the new world of college football. He's been late to adapt and adopt the things that have helped people win. Now, they are finally, only 2.5 years late, playing catch up, adopting, getting more traction in both NIL and transfer portal. But there's definitely a little like closing the barn door after the horses escape kind of thing there. But Clemson's not going away. They're still a good program, still a bunch of 4 and 5 stars there. The ACC is a better conference top to bottom than I think people realize. I don't know if it's because there's still the basketball stigma thing sort of hanging over, but there's a lot of good football programs. And, of course, with the realignment and adding of new programs, now that they have exposure into Texas and things like that, I expect the ACC to continue on the upswing as a football conference. Last thing, watch out for Duke also, people who are watching out for – I know, once again, the basketball school thing, but I've been watching Duke football since I was a child, and this – obviously – they had some good years under Spurrier. They had a good number of good years under Coach Cutcliffe. But Coach Elko and the current program in place there, everything from nutrition and strength to NIL and transfer portal, they have a chance to move into that, once again, top of the second tier in the conference and push into the top tier of the conference sooner than people think. Crazy as it might sound, speaking of, basketball schools gone wild, but we might soon see a Syracuse Duke. I have to remember they're in the same. I wish they just had North and South. this whole coastal Atlantic thing makes it very difficult to remember who's where. But whether or not they play each other in a championship game probably isn't possible. I have to go back and look at the alignment of the darn conference again. But they will be a couple of the best teams in the conference sooner rather than later.
Okay. Reg, since you didn't want to talk about the ACC, Coach DeBoer has announced that Ty Simpson is going to be Alabama's starting quarterback. What's a successful Alabama season this year, Reg?
Playoff run, a deep playoff run. We expect that every year, no matter who's there. That's kind of like the fandom here in Bama is kind of like it doesn't matter who the coach is. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. We expect W's. Now, the Ty Simpson is an actually interesting case because I don't really know him and haven't had a chance to watch him except in blowout games where, Bama was blowing out a team. So then they bring on Ty and he looks athletic and he looks apart from the eye test. So I'm pretty excited to see. I wasn't really in love with Milroe when he was here. And we've been blessed with some great coaches. Maybe it was because of that, coming off of Hurts and Tua and then coming and Mac Jones and then coming to Milroe was kind of underwhelming to me. But we'll see with this situation. I'm pretty excited, actually, coming into the season to see. I'm giving the kid a chance. And like I said, he looked good, but we were literally beating teams by like 30 when he would come in to the game. So,
Oh, yeah. Don, of course, we are well, I know you guys are expecting a national championship from Sarkeesian this year. So, what's happening down there with the spring practice in Texas, Don?
Well, this spring, Texas, they didn't have a spring game. Sark decided just to have practice, and then the last practice they had a team thing with like 1-on-1 for about 30 minutes, and then they had a fan day, get autographs and that type of stuff, meet the players, and have a little music part going on. It's very very fan friendly. I think the big news coming out of the spring was that Texas hit the transfer portal. They got themselves a pretty good tight end from California. Got a receiver from Stanford. The kid from Stanford, when he was in high school, it came down between Texas and Stanford. He went to Stanford because he thought he could get more playing time, and he did. But Stanford fired his coach, and so the rule says if you fire your coach, you can enter the portal anytime. So he came back to Texas. You got a couple of defensive linemen, one from Syracuse, one from Purdue. So Sark this spring he filled in the holes he felt he needed, and I think Texas, as long as that offensive line gels, they'll be great. They're going to be tough up front. We got a loaded secondary. They are replacing their kicker and punter, so special teams is a question mark. But I think Texas is going to be good. I mean, they are. I just get kind of antsy when people start talking about national championship, national champions. Like they might go out and beat the state of the big dogs SEC and get upset by someone like Vanderbilt. I mean, that's just the nature of the game. You got to be careful. Right, Reg? You got to be careful. Vanderbilt.
gotta be careful. Gotta be careful, man.
They will bite you in the ass. So
yeah, yes.
So yeah, but I'm cautiously optimistic. I think Texas is in a good spot. I don't think we're entering number one this year. I mean, I think most people have us at either 2 or 3, but we'll see.
How's your running back room, Don?
Running back room is stronger than it was last year. Trey Wisner, 1,000-yard rusher. He's coming back for sophomore year. And he was entered last year third team and had some injuries in front. He stepped in, got 1,000 yards. He tore A&M a new asshole with like close to 200 yards rushing. So that's good. We get Cedric Baxter back. He was like number 1, number 2 running back in the nation as a high school. I think he tore his Achilles tendon, but he'll be back. So the running backs will be strong.
Okay. Dave, anything from Pitt or Penn State?
Well, some sad news from Penn State. They had a former wide receiver, Julian Fleming. He really got banged up in a ATV accident that killed his it was his fiance. So definitely his girlfriend, if not his fiance. Killed her. He's all banged up. And he had transferred from Penn State to Ohio State, but then he was going to play for the Packers, but he failed physical due to previous injuries. But it's still really sad that he's in the hospital. I talked a bit about Penn State last week, but I don't think that I think that they're being overhyped to be like national championship. I think that they could be a top 5 team. They should be in the college football playoff, but I'm not so sure that they're going to be the national champion. But they'll compete. They'll be competitive, and that's where they are.
Bill, what about Oregon and USC this year?
What about Oregon and USC? Okay. Okay. Well, I've actually been watching Northwestern and their spring game and stuff like that because I live close to them. But USC has done well in the portal. Oregon obviously lost a lot of talent in the last draft and undrafted free agency signing period from last year's team. But, Oregon's going to be good. Dan Lanning is one of the better young coaches in all of college football. He's probably a top 8 coach, and on his way to maybe even climbing higher. I mean, I think that's the consensus is that he's a top 8. And they've always recruited extremely well. I mean, from the later Mike Bellotti years onward, the one running thing in Oregon is that they've done a really good job of recruiting, especially skill position, right? They've killed it in skill position for, well, now we're talking 2+ decades. And the big change of the Lanning era is they've done a much better job on the offensive and defensive line in terms of being a consistent recruiting powerhouse. I'll be shocked if they're not a double-digit win team again this year. I'd be surprised if they don't manage to find a way to at least 10 wins. For USC, it's a bit of a crossroads. While I don't think Lincoln Riley's on a hot seat, he's definitely on a warm seat. The seat is not cool to the touch. They expect exciting, fun football, but they also would like to win. And while they've had some exciting and fun football, their defense has been flat out bad of late. And they haven't consistently had a strong running game. The offense, once again, people forget that in USC's great years, whether it be going back to, people like Coach John McKay or Robinson or the Pete Carroll years at the best, though people pay attention to the skill position stuff, they were devastatingly good on both the offensive and defensive lines in the best years of the program. And that has not been great for USC, right? Look at the numbers of USC offensive and defensive linemen drafted. I think not a single defensive lineman was drafted from USC in the most recent draft. Only one offensive lineman, the center/guard, Jonah Monheim. That's it, right? From what was one of the prestige, programs. I mean, we're talking about a, sort of what was a top-of-the-line program for decades. And now nobody's interested in drafting their offensive and defensive linemen. Like, that's a revelation, is how thin the offensive and defensive line groups have recently been at USC. And some of that is the portal, but not all of it. They're also just losing recruiting battles they used to win, especially in the city itself, right? They're still getting a lot of the the young people, if you go out into the collar counties and the, out in Orange County, about in the suburbs, they still in the Inland Empire, they're doing they're doing okay. They'll always get a lot of the kids from the big Catholic schools, but they're getting their butt handed to them in the actual places like, Dorsey and Morningside. And like, if you go through all of the Long Beach Poly even, right? They used to basically own the rights to the top talent from the city schools as well as those suburban schools. Now they're holding on in the suburbs and just getting pulverized in the city itself. And frankly, some of that goes to staff turnover. They got rid of a lot of their recruiters who were more, how shall I put this, comfortable in the inner city, and you could take for that what you will. A lot of those people are no longer on the staff. And when you add to that they have a head coach who I'm not sure always values equally some positions. I mean, we'll see. So if USC is a 6 or 7 win team again this year, things could start to happen. The seat will go from slightly warm to full on hot if USC doesn't get better in the trenches.
Okay. All right,
Nick
guys.
should never left Oklahoma. I'm sure he regrets it now.
Yeah, I'm sure he does.
Except for all that,
we had
money.
Somebody in the comments laying on a fight question. Can Teofimo Lopez beat Devin Haney? I have no idea.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if any of you guys follow the fight. That's from Tony Yako in the comments.
I'm gonna toss that one back up in the air to you guys also there, guys. Have at it. Have at it, fellas.
Good fight, but that's a different show.
All right.
But if you want to talk some fight talk, just let me and K9 Budridge know. We'll be right there to talk with you. Just send me an email. Anyway, let's go on to our NFL. Looks like we're going to have a short night tonight. But Bill, I got a question for you here because Fitzgerald, Larry, says that he's optimistic about Marvin Harrison Jr. He says he's only going to get better. But Bill, would a sophomore slump have the Cardinals rethinking their 2026 draft? And Bill, is he live or is he Memorex?
You broke. I don't know if it's just for me, but you broke up a little. So you're asking about
Marvin Harrison Jr.
Marvin Jr. I'm not expecting a sophomore slump. I'm expecting him to continue on an upswing. And what was the other part of your question?
I was asking, do you think that he's going to be, improved over last year? Last year he was kind of inconsistency, a lot of inconsistency. But
I mean, last year he was a rookie. I mean, he looked like a rookie last year, and he'll not be a rookie. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't understand what were people expecting exactly? Like, I wonder was always what people think rookie players look like. He looked exactly like
well, hold on, Bill. Wait a minute. Let me tell you.
Okay.
His father is a Hall of Famer.
I'm familiar with it. Yes.
Okay. He's
North Philadelphia kid. Yeah, I'm very familiar with his dad.
So I mean, when you're expected, when you're drafted that high by a team, you are expected to live up to certain expectations. I would say that he did not live up to expectations last year, but maybe I'm wrong. What is your thoughts?
Well, I mean, it depends on your expectations. I mean, my expectations were realistic. He lived up to my expectations because I had realistic expectations. Some people don't believe in realistic expectations. To those people, I apologize. Maybe you should see someone and talk about that. But he looked exactly like a rookie wide receiver. Like, I don't get what people were talking about. He looked just fine.
The biggest issue that people are going to have, or the biggest issue is not necessarily even an issue with him, is probably with how good Malik Neighbors looked and probably the comparison of the two. So when people are looking at these drafts and they're seeing other wide receivers go, and also let's think about this too, guys, from a fantasy perspective. We were thinking that the fantasy guys, they're out there hating. They're coming off the top rope. They're going to be hating on the Marvin Harrison because they're expecting 2,000 yards from the guy. Last year.
Now
So
that is the thing that I think really we're talking about. We're talking about fantasy football. In real football, he looked exactly like he should have looked as a rookie wide receiver. Those people who took him in the first round of your fantasy drafts, that's where the vituperation and the hand-wringing is coming from. Whose fault is that? That's yours. You did that. You did that to yourself. I don't know what to tell you. Calm down, right? Take a BC's headache powder or goodies or whatever it is the hillbillies are crushing up into their and pouring into their mouths nowadays for their headaches. What are you doing? That's you. You did that to yourself. I don't know what to tell you. So it's like being in the same draft with, say, Jerry Rice, right? Hey, Fast Eddie Brown was a pretty good wide receiver. Al Toon was off to a really good career with the Jets before concussions, took him out of the league. But if you're going to compare what they did to Jerry Rice, you're going to say, man, these guys suck. No, they were really good football players. The other guy's Jerry Rice. Stop comparing people to Malik Neighbors. Comparison is the thief of joy, right? Stop doing it. So look at Marvin Harrison as what he is, where he is in his situation. He's in an offense where Trey McBride is one of the best young tight ends in football. You have a quarterback who is rounding into form, but at times doesn't always stick with the play that was called. And you are, once again, I can't say this enough. He was a rookie last year. Like, I don't get why people somehow don't realize that you're a rookie. No matter how early they take you, no matter who your father was, no matter what school you went to, you're a rookie, just like other rookies.
All right.
Something I brought up last week is also, and you mentioned McBride at tight end, but it's kind of like
one of my favorite fantasy players, by the way.
Who's the other wide receivers that are taking the heat off of them? Or are teams just going to be able to double up on them all the time because they don't have other comparable long threats? Well, and I think that could be an issue if they don't have a good matchup for them.
Yeah, I mean that's a piece of the puzzle as well. I still think no matter who the other receiver was, he was going to look like a rookie, right? I mean, I think that's what people have to remind themselves, that while at running back to a certain extent that may matter less, but at pretty much every other position in football, rookies tend to look like rookies, right? And while there are exceptions, right, they are just that. They are exceptional. That's why we call them exceptions, because they're exceptional. They are the freaks. They are special. When you get Randy Moss looks like Randy Moss from the minute you open up the fresh bag of Randy Mosses, right? That you don't have to shake it out. You don't have to, stretch it or anything. It's just Randy Moss immediately as soon as you tear open the bag. That's not normal. That doesn't happen very often. That's why these people are Hall of Famers. Stop expecting that from rookies. Expect rookies to look like rookies, and you'll stop being disappointed.
Okay. So, Reg, we have no Kirk Cousins at the OTAs. I don't know. Have you heard anything about any trade rumors? I'm still hoping that God, my Steelers try to pick him up. But anyway, that's another time. I hear that there's some chemistry developing between Penix and Drake London, and also how are things working out in your OTAs there, Reg?
Well, I definitely have not been checking out any OTAs. I'll tell you that we with the Kirk Cousins situation is the same kind of that you guys have been hearing, and the same. Pittsburgh's really the only conversation. Like it's kind of like if Pittsburgh doesn't call, who knows what's going to happen. So we're kind of all in limbo here when it comes to the Kirk Cousins situation. We don't really know what's going to happen, and we're looking forward more to down here to seeing what the defense is going to look like. We know it's a Michael Penix show for sure. No matter how he looks with Drake London or not, he's going to be the guy, and we're interested in seeing how that looks, along with the new defense that we've got, and that's pretty much what it is. We have not much Kirk Cousins talk down here, guys. I don't hear as much, especially Kirk Cousins talk that's not involving Pittsburgh. So the Kirk Cousins talk that I tend to hear tends to be involving Pittsburgh. It tend to be like a couple right now. I don't ever hear about them separately.
Have you thought? Have the Falcons seriously thought about maybe what kind of compensation that they want from Kurt, if there is any discussion?
I think that I know they want a team to take a decent portion, pay him a decent portion of the money. That's what they want. They want to pay him a decent portion of the money. Like if they can get it 20 mil, a team to take $20 million of that, oh, he's out of here. He's out of here. He's on the next thing smoking. He's out of here. And I think that they're just hoping that teams get desperate enough to do it. And we're looking at you, Pittsburgh, desperate enough to do it. You know what I mean? Because I'm with you here, James. We can talk. I'm going to stay just to the end of the show because of the Steelers situation. I was going to leave early, but I'm going to stay just because of the Steelers situation because it's ridiculous. And I feel like I need to stay for it. I'm hoping to, just like you, that Kirk Cousins will come and take us away from the Aaron Rodgers drama. But I'm not sure if it's going to really work out like that. I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, it's amazing, all this Aaron Rodgers talk. But anyway, Don, Michael Parsons, he's in camp, but he doesn't have an extension. Does the acquisition of Pickens make Jerry's kids contenders, Don?
It makes them closer to being contenders than we were last year, but they're not going to be contenders. Let's just get that out of the way. I think the fact that Parsons is going through the motion of training, that's a good sign. That tells me that him and Jerry are probably at 90% agreed on some kind of deal. In Parsons, like, I'm going to be a Cowboy. I may not get the deal I want, but he's been a good teammate. So I admire him for showing up without the deal in hand. So that's kind of rare. You don't see that very often. Most people just sit out. But I think Parsons will have a good season this year, and I think Pickens will too. Dallas doesn't have the culture they don't have a winning culture. They just don't have it. Not right now. So that might change in a few years, but right now they're still Dallas.
Oh, okay, Dave. You got that seat warmed up?
Yeah, lay it on me.
Okay. Terry Bradshaw says that the Steelers' interest in ayahuasca is a joke.
You tell him, Terry. Tell him.
Wilburn says that the Steelers are making a mistake inviting ayahuasca anywhere near their building.
Wow, near the building. That's more strong worded right there.
That's right. He said not even near their building. And I got to ask, I know we're looking for wide receivers, Dave, but Montana, who? Come on, really? The guy, he's got 400 yards in his, that was his biggest season, 400 yards receiving. Dave, what the hell is going on?
Well,
you could start with Bradshaw and Wilbon.
Yeah, I guess Bradshaw said that Rodgers could eat bark. So, I'm not exactly sure what that means.
What is that?
That's some type of Louisiana.
Yeah, that's one of those in Louisiana.
But here's the thing: Michael Wilbon, Terry Bradshaw. Terry Bradshaw was a great quarterback for the Steelers, but he's barely ever in Pittsburgh. He doesn't know what's going on with that organization. He's not an inside ear into what's happening with the Pittsburgh Steelers. and neither is Michael Wilbon. I mean, as great as journalists as they are, and
I kind of agree. I
don't
kind
think
of
that Art
agree with
Rooney.
Wilbon, though.
What's that?
I kind of agree with Wilbon, though.
You know, and so do a lot of the fans. But what matters is what does Art Rooney II, Omar Khan, and Mike Tomlin think? And they've been very consistent the entire time. They acknowledge, hey, we're going to give him time. You know, Aaron Rodgers said he had some personal problem, which I have no idea, you know, what it is. There's been speculation of cancer, marriages, whatever. And they've said all along. Now, one of the dates, 27 May, has come and gone. That date was important because that was the eve of the OTA starting. That's come and gone. The next big date is 10 June because that's right when the mini camp, the mandatory mini camp comes. Now, it's not mandatory for him because he doesn't have a contract. But right now, Pittsburgh has a backup quarterback, Mason Rudolph, who has started some games. They have Skylar Thompson that has some NFL snaps. And then they have a 6C draft or a fifth round draft pick in Will Howard, who's just, you know, they're hoping he'll develop into something. So they're really in need of a quarterback that's going to help them make a playoff push. Clearly, Pittsburgh believed that Aaron Rodgers, after they failed to sign Justin Fields, is their guy, and they're willing to wait. Now, and I've said this for a very long time, Cousins will not come into the discussion until Aaron Rodgers is no longer, until he announces his retirement. I'm not signing. The moment that happens, then all of a sudden Cousins becomes a factor. The reason I don't think that the Steelers have really pursued Cousins is because it's going to cost them not only money, but it's going to cost them draft picks. And right now they're hoarding their 2026 draft picks so that they can move up into the draft to pick their quarterback of the future. Now, the other factor in it is that if they were to sign Kirk Cousins, now this hurts their compensation model, because if he's their starting quarterback and they get him from Atlanta, well, now all of a sudden, you know, they're hoping to get 3 or 4 compensatory draft picks to help them with trading up next year. Well, Kirk Cousins hurts that if he comes in and he plays a lot. So I don't think that they're interested in Cousins, not because of his talent, but because there's different costs involved with signing him that they don't have with Aaron Rodgers.
But
So
Dave, let me ask you this, Dave.
Yeah.
If the Steelers go 5-12 next year, what difference does it make what kind of draft choices you have?
Well, it makes a big difference, James, because you're 5-12.
Because that's not the first pick or the second pick, 5-12. And so they, you know, no matter what, they want to be in a position
this is what I see
wherever they're at in the draft, whatever, you know, whether they're picking 4 or 5 or whether they're back at 15 or 20, they want to be in a position of trading up.
So are they saying, Dave,
capital move up?
Are they saying, Dave, that they want to then basically say, we're going to either try to wait this whole time for Aaron Rodgers because Aaron Rodgers gives us the best chance to win this year, but if that doesn't happen, forget about the whole year. We're just going to wait for 2026. We don't care about the year anymore. We just kind of flush the year down the toilet.
What they'll do is if they lose out on Rodgers, because nobody is banging the door for Cousins. Then Cousins will become a potential target of Pittsburgh. And then the other thing to remember is right now they're definitely not interested in him because come June 1st, then his dead money cap hit goes way down.
Yeah.
And so then his cost goes down. for what it would take in order to acquire him.
I'm not
So
necessarily loving the Kirk Cousins situation either, by the way. I'm gonna put that out there.
The Steelers are being patient, and the problem is they don't have a lot of options. You know, their plan, and I've said this over and over again, they were going to sign either Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. That was their plan last year. Something happened. They fell out with Wilson. They didn't really pursue him at all. And they made Fields an offer, but as a free agent, he went to the Jets. And so that put him in, and in 2025, you had a poor quarterback draft class, and you had a poor group of available free agent quarterbacks. And this is just, the way it's developed. So they're going to try. They want to be competitive in 2025. That's the only reason they're going after Aaron Rodgers. If they weren't trying to be competitive in 2025, they wouldn't bother with Aaron Rodgers at all. They would just go with Mason Rudolph and Will Howard and Skylar Thompson, and then look forward to 2026. That's not the type of franchise that Pittsburgh is. They just won't do. Other franchises would do that, not Pittsburgh. Now, the Montana guy, Craig something. He has a hyphenated name, something Craig. It's just they're just filling out. They had 91 roster spots. They only had 90 filled. That was the 91st. Now, if they do sign Aaron Rodgers, now that they've signed this Montana, they'll have to drop somebody off of their roster. But that's just that's all he is. He's just another wide receiver. If he were to have any chance to make the roster, he would have to be, probably a special teams, gunner or somebody that can excel on special teams. So he's Mox Nix. That doesn't mean much, I think, at this point. So, Pittsburgh is in a tough spot. And I've said this before, it was created when their plan, when they went to draft Kenny Pickett, failed. They misevaluated it, or maybe they didn't misevaluate it. What happened is when they signed Russell Wilson last year, he wanted out. He could have stayed. They wanted him to stay and then to continue his development. Well, now he's had a year in Philadelphia, and now he's over in Cleveland, and who knows what's going to happen over there with the potpourri of quarterbacks that they have. Emphasis on the po or poo. But
yeah, five quarterbacks.
That's where they stand. Yeah, 5 quarterbacks here. So for Pittsburgh, the next big date where it comes to Aaron Rodgers is June 10th, because that's when the mandatory mini camp comes. And there's, of course, this is impacting guys in the locker room. They want him to shit or get off the pot. Come on, what's the deal? The head shed, they're being patient, but they don't have too many options.
Ain't nobody breaking down the doors for Aaron Rodgers either. You talk about Kirk Cousins. Other than the Steelers, I haven't heard of anybody else have any interest in him.
Well, because their quarterback rooms are pretty well set, and for Pittsburgh, their calculation is, who do we have a better shot of going to the playoffs with, Mason Rudolph or Aaron Rodgers? And their calculation is, we have a better chance of winning with Aaron Rodgers than we do with Mason Rudolph. It's purely for 2025. This is what they're trying to be competitive this year. It has nothing to do with their future. Their future is next year in the NFL draft. And what I'm interested from Bill is, what is his speculation on the quarterback class of 2026 for, where it concerns the Steelers.
Yeah, and this is where James's question about why does it matter if you go 5-12? It matters a lot. Like that, if you're stockpiling draft picks, while you're never rooting to have a bad season, if you have a bunch of draft picks and you kind of suck, those draft picks went up in value. It's like buying a stock at this price, right? You know, anyone who's ever involved in like futures markets or puts and calls or options markets, things like that, you're buying at this one set price, but the value goes up because you're picking earlier. Those picks are now even more valuable than they would have been otherwise, because normally the Steelers are not picking early in the draft, right? Usually they're somewhere a little past the middle, 18, 19, 20, 21. Usually that's sort of the sweet spot where the Steelers have drafted traditionally in the last decade and a half or so. So if you do somehow manage to go 5-12, which I still don't believe will happen, somehow they'll flim-flam away into 9 wins. But
more like 4-12, but that's all right.
Goodness.
Right. Well, except in 17 games, so unless they just don't show up for one of the games. But either way, like whether it is what I'm predicting and they somehow magically end up at 9 wins again somehow, or 4 or 5 wins, either way, you want to stockpile picks. But you're even more excited about the fact you stockpile picks if now you're picking in the top 6, right? Now you don't have to do that much if you want to get up to the first pick, right? You don't have as much heavy lifting to do. If you're picking at 17, you've got some work to do to get into the top 4 or 5, right? If you are concerned about getting one of the top quarterbacks. Now, as of now, most people have Drew Aller, right? He's sort of the installed number 1. And I think we're all excited about what Archibald Charles Manning might be, but I don't think he comes out. Even if he has the most amazing season of all time, he's not coming out. I don't know why people are bothering with him as a prospect for that draft. He's going to play at least one more year. First of all, he wants to have the actual college experience. Like, it's not like he has to pull the Manning family out of the ghetto, right? He's going to get his degree and do all that college kid stuff because he wants to be a college kid. And why should he sacrifice that? When you add NIL on top of it, not that once again they need the money, once again, I'm moving on from him. But maybe Connor Wegman manages to bounce back. Like, there's a lot of potential. I'm excited about Darian Mensah, who's now made his way to Duke. It's a really interesting quarterback group. There's a lot of
what's the Nussmeier? Is that his name from LSU?
Garrett Nussmeier at LSU is another right. There's a lot of. I think there's going to be at least 3 or 4 more quarterbacks drafted than there were in this one, and I feel pretty confident there'll be at least 2 more first-round quarterbacks next year than there was this year. So it should be a both deeper and a little more top-heavy quarterback group next year, and that is, I think, is what Omar Khan and the others in the front office are sort of banking on. And as Dave mentioned, the Steelers really like having draft picks. They're like most teams. And while Kirk Cousins, we're talking about, whether it be Cousins or Rodgers, we're talking about a Band-Aid anyway, right? Those are both Band-Aids. Those are not long-term solutions under any circumstances. They're both, if you decide to go with either one of them, they're Band-Aids. I'm okay with not getting either of them, quite frankly. If we end up, somebody's going to get cut, right? Just for money purposes, some veteran QB is going to get dropped. Case Keenum or somebody, like some of those lower priced, less interesting guys is going to end up hitting the market. And nothing's better than a bargain, right? Hey, here's $4.5 million, which if you ball out, you could get $7.5 million, right? That's who we're getting. Somebody who wants that deal is who we're getting. And while I guess if Cousins ends up being cheap enough, but that means the Falcons have to eat a lot of that salary, he would be maybe interesting. But the Steelers also don't have an inordinate amount of salary cap. I don't know if people have been paying attention to this. We couldn't take on all of Cousins' salary if we wanted to. We don't have the cap room for it. So there's some actual math that will have to go into whoever it is that brought into that quarterback room, because the Steelers want to extend some of their young studs at other positions. So
TJ Watt.
That being
TJ
right.
Watt got his money. He just got his money. You don't have to worry about TJ.
No, you'll see.
Didn't you just get 126? He just got 126 mil, right?
Well, that's part of where I was driving at, James, is that they don't have unlimited cap space to work with right now. So I believe they truly want their quarterback of the future to be a rookie because, of course, you get that rookie deal, and that's how you build a champion, right? While there are a few exceptions where somebody's run out and grabbed a free agent, shout out to Tampa Bay, but that's the exception, not the rule. The rule is it's a quarterback that either you drafted or you got somehow, some other way while they're still on their rookie deal, and you built around that person because, once again, you get them on the relatively cheap. Now, once again, I'm not saying it never works out. It sometimes works out, but we just watched the Super Bowl between two teams that was both one guy wasn't even drafted to be a starter initially, right? The other guy was obviously drafted to be a starter. But those are both guys that were under team control on, the relatively bargain low at first, and then eventually they got paid. If Brock Purdy ever wins the Super Bowl, he'll be one of those fun stories to talk about, right? Not drafted to be the starter, drafted to be the third stringer, right? And then things happen. But it's very rarely, Brad Johnson in Tampa Bay. I mean, there's a few you can find where some, guy deep in his career comes in as a free agent, leads it, like I said, Brady, obviously, being the most recent example. But so Tampa Bay struck gold twice doing it, but it doesn't often happen, is the point I'm making.
Yeah. And Pete's takes in the comments, he's saying Tua to Pittsburgh and Rodgers to Miami. With some prayer hands. I would take
I really
that.
feel like it's sad because I did stick around to the end of this show and didn't feel like I'll feel this immense sadness that I'm feeling here. James, I am 100% with you. I am absolutely sad about the situation that's going on in Pittsburgh right now. It's very sad. And I did not know that I was going to stick around and have to think about Mason Rudolph or Case Keenum starting as a Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback next year. Is that what I stuck around for? When he said Case Keenum, I got sad. I got legit sad. Are you kidding me? Case Keenum and Mason Rudolph? No.
Will Howard.
Will Howard. Let's go, Will Howard.
There you go.
Will Howard.
People are getting excited about Will Howard, I see.
I mean, this is what I got to do. I mean, I've been forced to this. This is what they brought me to. Let's go, Will.
He might play some snaps this year. You never know.
I would need him to come out here and start, man.
Maybe he'll be like Ben. Ben was scheduled to be the third quarterback. Back in 2004, he was third string going into the first game of the season.
Yeah.
And Charlie Batch was lost, and then Tommy Maddox got hurt, and the rest was history. So
there it is. Yeah.
Of course, he was a legit first-round draft pick, but that's besides the point. They're in a tough position. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But Pittsburgh, the management is remaining patient, and that's all they can do.
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're kind of forced to at this point, right? I mean,
now Cousins, wait until June 10th. If Rodgers all of a sudden makes an announcement he's out, then all of a sudden the Cousins talk becomes relevant. Right now, it's not relevant.
Bill, final thoughts.
Well, it's funny. We just talked recently about Terry Bradshaw. Rest in peace to Phil Robertson. You may know him as Duck Dynasty, but he, of course, was the starting quarterback at Louisiana Tech when Terry Bradshaw first arrived. Terry Bradshaw was also equally well known, and some may say even more well known for his exploits as a javelin athlete. He was a junior Olympian and national champion, AAU champion in javelin. And interesting enough, the person whose record he broke for 16 and under in the javelin throw is someone who went to USC, but not for football at all, but Michael Landon, the actor that you may know from things like Little House on the Prairie. But he also was a world-class javelin thrower as a teenager, and that's who Bradshaw broke when he broke his national AAU record.
Oh, Little Joe Cartwright?
That's crazy. That's wild.
That's
a wild
cool.
story right there. Right.
That's what they tune in for.
Little Joe Cartwright threw the javelin?
Hey,
What's that?
That's
That's
why
a
we have Bill on the show. There you
That's a
go.
little Joe Cartwright through the javelin.
Oh yeah, you just throw it. He was a national AAU champion. He was a world class javelin.
Well, you know, Dan Blocker, Hoss Cartwright,
Football.
played football at Sol
Yep.
Ross, and he got a free agent offer, I think, with Green Bay or someone. But
Yep.
he taught English at the school my dad got his coaching job at. In fact, my mom became the English teacher when Dan Blocker left at Sonora High School. Crazy world.
Yep.
Oh man. Okay. Reg,
6 degrees.
final thoughts.
You know what my
Reg?
final thought's going to be, man. I told you what my final thought's going to be until we got this situation taken care of in Pittsburgh. Let's go, Will Howard. It's my final thought until we hit this thing sorted out. Let's go, Will Howard.
Nice kid. He's a nice kid. I've seen
He
him
is.
on
He's a very nice young man.
Ben
yeah.
Roethlisberger podcast, and he acquitted himself well. Nice guy.
Don.
Final thoughts. Nothing athletics related. Tomorrow is my last day of school.
Oh, congrats.
Have a little work day on Friday, but that's not. I just got to check out. And then my summer begins. Just to let y'all know, June 14th is my wedding date.
Ah, man.
Congratulations.
My daughter was born, man. That's a fabulous day right there,
There
June
you go.
14th.
So,
You know?
I don't know if y'all are friends. I know James and maybe Bill. Some of y'all are friends with me on Facebook. I will be live streaming it. So if you want to see the live stream,
Oh, very
Okay.
nice. Very
send me a
nice.
friend request. I'll accept you, and then it's going to be 6:00 Saturday, June 14th. And and then we're supposed to go honeymoon in Monterey, visit some of her friends, her family in Mexico, but she doesn't want to. She wants me to take her to the Four Corners region where the 4 states meet: Colorado, Arizona, Utah.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to take her to Royal Gorge. I'm going to take her to Taos, take her to Santa Fe. We're going to go check out Billy the Kid's grave at Fort Sumner. We're going to do some history, visit the Navajo Reservation, go to Monument Valley where John Wayne filmed The Searchers. So
It's a packed schedule there, my friend.
Yeah, it is.
it's all about nature. We're going to pan for gold in Colorado, so you can still do that, by the way. So yeah, that's my final thoughts. I'm all pumped about being a husband again.
Very nice. Congrats, buddy.
Yep. Well, I'll be joining you pretty soon again, Don.
All right.
Oh,
Congratulations to you, Bill.
Once
Yes,
again,
yeah,
congratulations are in
this-
order, man. I'm glad I
Over
did
the
stick around for
Memorial Day weekend, I got engaged, so I'll be getting married as well. So pretty soon.
Wow.
Did she
Congratulations
find
there.
you by watching the Sports Crib, or
So we originally connected actually back. There used to be something called Yahoo 360. Yahoo's fumbled so many bags as a company. Yeah, I could write a book about like how not to run a company just based on Yahoo's decision-making process. But many years ago, they used to have their own little blogging site called Yahoo 360. It was like a little bit like MySpace, a little bit like not really like Facebook. It was like a little bit like Twitter, but like longer form. I don't know, like a little bit of microblogging with like a personal page building aspect to it, sort of like MySpace. And I had a decent sized following, and I moderated one of their sports forums. And she was going at it with somebody about something, and this person was being disrespectful. And frankly, right. He said something disrespectful, basically because she was a woman, basically intimating that because she was a woman, she picked her favorite team based on team colors, which is not at all how she picked the team.
Wow.
She's a defense person, so she had originally been a Bears fan, but when Buddy Ryan left and went to Philadelphia, she followed Buddy Ryan and became an Eagles fan. So that's how my fiance became an Eagles fan. But shout out to those Eagles and my cousin Byron Darby, who played on those Eagles teams under Buddy Ryan as a backup defensive tackle. But I had hopped in and basically pointed out that, one, everyone should be treated with respect. Two, she was actually making much better points than this idiot who was challenging her. So yes, because you do. That's correct. And get used to it. Maybe we'll have a Carrie's Corner soon on the Sports Crib. But where was I? Oh, But that's how we initially met. At the time, she was married to somebody else. I was single. And then many years go by. We reconnected when I came back to Chicago after living in New York. Talked a little bit back and forth, but still nothing serious. And then when I separated from my first wife, we started talking again. We eventually went out on a date, and I divorced. And then we started dating more seriously, and then, of course, we recently became engaged. Boom. Yay!
Congratulations.
my friend.
All right. Hey, maybe we should call this the wedding crib.
Well, we're getting there. We're getting there.
Goodness.
You know, Demetrius is still on his honeymoon also. So, Dave, take us home, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, just
Who's not leaving you, is she? I mean, you know.
No. I'd be lost if that happened. I'd be sunk. No, but just two quick things from a personal note. I finally submitted my article on Buddy Parker to Steelers Depot. So they should be publishing that on Sunday.
Okay.
And I just had a big writer's block on that. I'd worked on it and I would leave it. It's been like a couple years. And but I finally finished my article on him. It's not a long article, but it was just hard for me to write because he's a tough guy to cover. I mean, he was very successful in his time, but he also really hurt the team in a number of different ways. So it was a difficult one, but I'm happy that I got that done. And so that's a big weight off my chest. And then the next thing, again, from a personal note, I have plane tickets and a hotel room in Dublin for the weekend of September 28th.
Wow, nice.
The only thing I need is a game ticket.
Yeah.
Oh.
But I'm going.
You got the hard part done there, Dave. You're going to be there. You just got to now just get into that stadium somehow. You know what I mean?
Right. And I talked to Sue, and she was the one that suggested it. She said, just go with or without a ticket. Just go and be there.
Yeah, for sure.
It'll be like a carnival. So I got the ticket, got my hotel. And I'm a season ticket holder, but they had a lottery, and I didn't make the lottery for the people that got a chance to buy the tickets early. So, we'll see. There's plenty of time, but I'm really looking forward to it and to see how football is received in the Emerald Island.
Nice, man.
Oh, great.
They'll love it because people get hit and people drink.
Yep, there you go.
That's not
I
stereotypical.
don't want to stereotype the Irish. I'm not going to stereotype the Irish.
Yeah, I was going to say that's just not stereotypical whatsoever.
I'm about 20% there, so I can say it. I can say it.
Well, the one thing going for Minnesota, though, is that Dublin was originally founded as a Vikings trading post. So there is a Viking connection.
Is that home field right there a little bit? A little bit of home field advantage.
A lot of Vikings in Scotland also.
Yeah, all through that region. All right, guys. Hey, thanks everybody for joining us tonight. Maybe we can get Jeffrey in next week, and I look forward. Hopefully by what'd you say it was June 10th?
14th.
10th. That's the next one.
Don said his date, and you're talking about the Steelers over there. Like that. Don is like, no, the date is the 14th, and the name's like you guys are talking about things that are equally important to each of you. I feel that there.
All right, guys. Hey, have a good one, man.
Yes,
Appreciate
have a good night, everybody.
Later, guys.
Have a
Take
good
care.
one.